So when I was going through schooling and taking early childhood development courses, what I learned from documentation was that it was a, where the teacher didn't exist, and it was, you were supposed to be objective and more or less write out a sort of plain script of what was happening and what is assumed, or what's happening for the child and what is happening in the situation. Over time, though, I came to find myself, as I got more passionate about being in the field, that my passion started coming out more onto paper, and there was more of, instead of this happened to so-and-so, this is what it means, this is the developmental milestones, it came to this incredible activity happened, and this is how I feel it is affecting the child, and this is what I think might happen with them. And I really started to feel that I was having a conversation with myself and putting it onto paper. And to me, now documentation is really just a conversation that is put on paper. And what a conversation does is it engages people and it elicits new ideas, and it gets people thinking and talking, and really parents and teachers are they're all in it for the good of the child. And having documentation is one avenue to really approach the best for what that child may need.
Perfect. And then maybe just see if you can say a little bit about the intent of the idea of being objective is a good intent, but it has downfalls, or however you were talking about that earlier.
I think the idea of being objective is one of the many great intentions that early childhood has, but it's not necessarily one that is going to work for everybody, and one that's going to be the most effective. What else did I say?
Well, and it's kind of impossible. How can you really be objective? Yeah.
And really, when we're building relationships with children, you're bringing yourself to the classroom, your authentic self, if you're going to have a true, genuine experience with the children. And when you bring yourself, then how is it possible to be objective? I know that I bring my interests in. We do tattoo parlor days where the kids will put temporary tattoos on each other, and that's a physical way for them to connect, and we usually do that at the beginning of the year so they can sort of get to know each other. And then they also see the novelty of them having tattoos along with me having tattoos, and so they see this, so right there the objective is, it's not even present. You know, I'm going to be subjective, and I'm going to bring myself to this place as the children do, because they're bringing their authentic self, so I should bring my authentic self, and together we can then build a true relationship.
Great. And then how that shows up in writing is?
Mm-hmm. And how that translates into the documentation we use is, how can we have a conversation of an experience with the parents and with the children through documentation. And one way that it really comes out is just having a conversation with the paper and writing down your ideas and just getting out your thoughts and organizing them later, or bringing it to a team meeting or to another staff member when you have the chance, and pulling out different threads and then adding layers to a document. I feel over time a lot of teachers get turned off to the idea of documentation because it's sort of this heavy burden, and they want to make sure it sounds good, and I don't blame them. And for the most part, when I talk to people about their documentation, I just have them tell me the story. And I say, just write that down. Just as if you're talking to anybody else, just write it down. And sometimes it helps to have that conversation first with an actual person, and then put that into writing.
And you have like 3 or 4 elements you always include in your written documentation.
Yeah.
And you say over time at our center we've developed these. You might even use the word protocol since we have that in here.
Mm-hmm. When we're having the conversation with our document,
Whoops,
sorry,
I
no
juggled
problem.
the camera. Okay.
When we're having conversations with the paper that we're writing, there is a certain protocol that needs to be followed. We have 4 elements, like what happened in the story, what's happening for the child, what I think it means, and what the next steps would be. And some teachers might find it easy to just sort of fill in the blanks, but how is that going to be an engaging conversation with the parents? So that's where I encourage teachers to really just tell the story, and then I ask yourself the question, what do I think of that? And then say what you think. Like, what would be a good way to extend that for this child, and how can I take this further? And just write whatever you're thinking just down into words. And I think it's too easy to just get caught in our head of like, this needs to sound perfect, and this needs to sound almost like a standardized test or something. But it doesn't. It doesn't need to be the most professional thing. Because I think in this field, the most professional thing that we can do is just be authentic and really convey. And documentation is one way to convey that.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to come and get a few shots just up here up close. I should get your tattoos since you were talking about that too. That's cool. I didn't know you did that. That's a great thing to do with the kids, huh?
One way we start off the year of tattoo parlor days. We just go in the studio and try to pair up kids and have them get little sponges and put tattoos on each other.